So I was reading the message board the other day, basketball message board I like to hang out on, and I saw a topic come up that was pretty interesting. Someone proposed the idea of who would have a better season this upcoming year, Anthony Davis or Karl-Anthony Towns. And I thought it was interesting because my first thought or my first impression is it has to be Davis, right? I mean, both of them are extremely impressive. Obviously, they were both number one overall picks out of Kentucky. They have a lot in common. They both have Anthony prominently in their name. But, just based on years, I mean, Davis is going into year 5. He's starting to get closer to his physical peak. He's up into his mid-20s now, at least. I guess actually he's still only going to be like 23, so he's still young, but he's further along, whereas Karl-Anthony Towns is still barely 20. He's a young guy. He was a rookie. So, Anthony Davis has been an MVP candidate for a few years now. Even though he was Rookie of the Year, I don't think many people see Towns as a potential MVP this year, though I did find an article from a guy named Dan Schultz that wrote an article that says that Karl-Anthony Towns might win the MVP this year. So I guess it's not far-fetched, but just by feel, it feels like Anthony Davis, is a more likely MVP than Karl-Anthony Towns. So you would think he's going to have the better year this year. But then I kind of started looking at it a little closer, and Towns has a case, so let's talk about it a little bit. Let's put some thought into this. So, Anthony Davis, in his 4 years, he started off as a rookie. Right out the box, he was, a really good NBA player. I think he averaged as a rookie, he averaged 13.5 points and 8.2 rebounds. He was playing about 29 minutes a game, almost 2 blocks, 1.8 blocks. He was showing that he could be an impact player, even from his rookie year, and that landed him on the all-rookie team. He was not the Rookie of the Year, but he had a really good rookie year. But what made Davis really turn into a superstar was the jumps that he was taking each year. Like from his rookie year to his sophomore year, he made a huge leap. He went from 13.5 and 8 up to almost 21 and 10. And then he made another leap from year 2 to year 3, where he was averaging 24.4 points and 10.2 rebounds, leading the NBA in blocks, 2.9 blocks. And his efficiency was crazy. Like he was just watching him. He was always obviously, generally the best player on the court. He's putting up the best fantasy numbers. His advanced box score stats were going nuts. So he was making big leaps from year to year. And then last year he kind of regressed. He kind of took a step back. The injuries seemed like they hurt him even when he was able to play on the court, compared to how he was before. He just never was as good as he was in year 3. With Karl-Anthony Towns, we only have 1 year's worth of information to work with, but that 1 year was really impressive. Like, he was solidly better as a rookie than Anthony Davis was. He averaged 18.3 points, 10.5 boards. This is as a rookie. As a rookie, Davis was in the 13.5 points range. His advanced box score stats, everything was closer to second-year Davis. Karl-Anthony Towns was closer to second-year Davis as a rookie than he was to rookie Davis. And so, if we think about it that, Davis had to make a huge jump in year 2 to get to where he was. But once he got there, he was ready to make another jump into year 3, which is like his all-time season so far through his first 4 years. Karl-Anthony Towns in year 1 was already where Davis is year 2. Maybe he's ready to be where Davis was a year earlier, and I don't think that's far-fetched, which means that, it's very well possible that Towns might be ready to be approaching the best of what we've seen from Davis so far, even as a sophomore. So one thing that's kind of said often about rookie big men in the NBA is, that it takes them longer to develop. I'm not sure if that's been proven, but I will generally say that often you see the big men, when they come into the NBA, even if their box score stats are good, it often takes them a little while to start having a big impact in the plus minus stats. And I think that's because they have to learn how to play defense. Like, even if they're shot blockers, even if they're effective with that off the bat, they often don't know, what position to be, where they're supposed to be on the court, how to play effective help defense. And big men are often the anchor, and they have to tell others where to go. So as rookies, they might not know that yet. So, one thing I noticed with Davis, if I look at his plus minus stats, year 1, 2, and then last year he regressed in year 4, his net on court, off court plus minus, there wasn't like a huge difference. It'd be like -1, +2 in that range. In year 3, he found magic and shot up to +11, in net on court, off court. So he started making a more noticeable impact on his team's fortunes. But other than that, he's been in that +1, +2, -1 range. And Towns, as a rookie, was in that same situation. He was a +2 last year, net on court, off court for the Timberwolves. I bring that up because not only is Towns going into year 2, so maybe he's a little bit more experienced, but his coaching situation, he's going to be playing for Tom Thibodeau. He already got a year under his belt, going up against crazy Kevin Garnett and his kind of defensive training camp, if you will, all year last year. He may get that again this year if KG doesn't hang him up. But he's got Tom Thibodeau, who's shown that he knows how to teach defense. And he's shown that he'll rely heavily on his starting players, which means that Towns is also going to get a lot of minutes this year. So you put that together, and not only might he have a leap as a just getting older, getting more experienced, but he's in a position to really make a focus leap based on the leaders and mentors that he'll have around him. And Davis, it can be argued, his coaching situation maybe hasn't been as good as a Tom Thibodeau, over his career. Some people talk really bad about the coaches he's had so far. So, that's another situation where maybe Towns is ready to advance a little faster than Davis did. And then not just the coaching, but the team situation. Like the Wolves, I mentioned them the other day as a team I think will be the most improved this year. But it's a pretty common thought around the league basketball circles, the prognosticators, that the Wolves have a lot of really good young talent. They have the last 2 rookies of the year. They have a potential rookie of the year in Dunn. They've got Levine. So they have all this young talent. Then they got old cats like Methuselah Garnett if he comes back. And, there's a feel that the team is going to be good, competitive this year. In New Orleans, it's not necessarily the same. Even though they had a lottery pick, the thought is that they haven't been able to put talent around Davis that necessarily fits and takes advantage of what he can do. So just the fit of talent often helps players to play better as well, and maybe that helps Towns as well. And then I guess the last area I would look at is health. Davis has been in the NBA for 4 years, but he's never played more than 60, I believe it's 67 games in a season, 67, 68 games in a season. Whereas Towns, he played all 82 games as a rookie. And before that, in Kentucky, he played all 39 games. I mean, so far he has a track record of being healthy, of being a horse. And Davis hasn't. So even if you think Davis might be a little better, per game, you have to take into effect the likelihood based on his history that he might miss 15 games this year. So you put all those things together, that Towns was starting at a higher point, that he's set for potentially a sophomore leap, that he's in a better coaching situation, on a better team with better expectations, and he has a history of better health. I mean, outside of the fact that he's just a freak basketball player, all of those surrounding things, you could make the argument that he'll be better even as a sophomore than Anthony Davis, who not that long ago was thought to be so much the prototype of the NBA big man of the future. He might already be surpassed. So, if I had to put money on it, I still would say that Anthony Davis is would be the favorite to have a better season this year, because he very well could bounce back from last year and just, run away with the MVP himself. But don't sleep on the youngster out of Minnesota. He just might be able to surpass his elder Kentucky Anthony brethren. So I guess we'll see. Check me out on the Hoops Lab, hoopslab.rotowire.com. Follow me at Professor Driz on Twitter. And, leave your comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this comparison. Who will have the better year next year, Anthony Davis or Karl-Anthony Towns?